for their content and do not reflect the opinions of In Touch Radio or its staff.
It is indeed a good morning. I want to welcome you to Straight Up the Middle. My name is Clint Paris. I am the in-studio host of Straight Up the Middle. As y'all know, we have two other hosts that pop in and out. It's kind of two versus one. The Dr. Anthony Seabrook, who is working on his doctoral thesis on, and of course, Sweet Pete Edwards is also. They are Republican, if you didn't know that. And I like to say they're Republican, not conservatives. I don't know. They're Republican. They're Republicans. And I am extremely liberal. I'm so liberal, I'm on the other side of those on the right. I go all the way back around and circle back on the backside. But it's indeed a good time, a good chance to be here with you all this morning. The week flies by. I just feel like we were just, or let me just say it this way. I feel like I was just in my last week's therapy session, which is what this is, talking to you all last week about the crazy things that were going on in our society all around us. And we try on this show to bring some sanity to the craziness of this thing we call life. So I want to welcome you this morning to the show on In Touch News Radio. You know, and for those who are not privy to all that In Touch News offers, it is I call a full suite of media opportunities. There's the print media. I'm going to hold up real quick. Here's the print media version. There's In Touch newspaper that just came out, and as you saw in the front, it's advertising the R&B music experience with Keith Sweat. This is in Tampa, and I know they're going all over the place, but on July the 23rd, Saturday, July 23rd, Keith Sweat will be in Tampa. And just to let you all know, In Touch News didn't just fall out the sky, come from Mars yesterday. In Touch News has been around for 25 years. I mean, that's a long time to make something happen, and they've just been providing great insight. I want to encourage everyone, no matter where you are, you have local papers also that you should, media, which is unfiltered. It means it comes out just as raw as it is. And for those looking for some insight, In Touch News, you can go to the In Touch News website and look at some of the articles that are in there. One that I always get a kick out of is my girl Tammy, Tampa Bay Tammy. She does something called Dear Girlfriend. Because let me tell y'all something. If you go look at a movie called, I think it's DC Cab, it explains what rules the world, and it's something that all women have. It is how you use it that determines things. And Tammy really talks to women in this, in her Dear Girlfriend. Women send in questions, and then she answers the questions with some great insight. And I'm going to open today's show talking about what Tampa Bay Tammy put in her Dear Girlfriend's column this week, because it talks about how do you make a marriage work? How will you make a marriage? And the reason she can talk about it, Pete, is she's been married for 42 years to Daryl. Now, anybody that can put up with Daryl for 42 years besides Daryl, his siblings, and his parents is doing a wonderful thing. So if I could, I'm just going to run this list off real quick, all right?
I love that one. I love that article.
This 10 tips, Dear Girlfriend by Tampa Bay Tammy, In Touch News. It's on the intouchnews.com website. Because, ladies, she's really laying down some good stuff. Watch me. Here we go. She starts with saying, keep your hands all over each other in a comforting way. You know, I love it. Keep your hands, which means what? You need to be close together. You need to be spending time together. Hold hands often. She says this, number 2, date, for men out there, date your wife. Women, date your spouse. Date your wife. There's nothing more exciting to me than to have my wife call me and ask me out on a date. You know, of course, I always say yes. But to ask me out on a date, date your spouse. And also, dating your spouse keeps your skills sharp in case you end up back on the market. I shouldn't have said that, but anyway. So date your spouse. Number 3, don't smother each other. Allow each other to have their own space. Keep in touch with friends. Encourage her, men, encourage her to keep in touch with her friends. You should know what each other's company, they keep, but give each other some space. Number 4, talk sweetly. Honey, dear, pookie, whatever words you want to use, but use those words, and it really will soften the impact of the actual message you're sending. When I became a professional out of college, I was told when you answer your phone, physically put a smile on your face, and your voice will sound like you're smiling. Number five, number five, don't bring outside opinions home. Man, don't come home telling your wife what somebody else said about her. And ladies, if your family doesn't like your husband, you don't need to come home echoing what they said, what your mama said, your daddy said, your sisters. Leave that where you heard it, but don't bring that into your house. How about this one? Live and let live. If you want to go somewhere and do something, do it, and have your own things that you enjoy. Likewise with your spouse, if they want to go somewhere and do it, do it. If you want to go along, you should be welcome to come along, but you don't hamper them from doing the things that they enjoy. Number 7, celebrate each other. Listen, when times are bad, there's nothing you can do about it but suffer. But when times are good, you should celebrate those times, because guess what? The bad times coming back, and there won't nothing you can do but suffer through them and persevere. So when the things are good, celebrate the good stuff. I had a buddy of mine, we were out playing golf, and he saw a golf shirt he wanted. And I said, hey, man, get the shirt. He said, no, man, if I get that shirt, my wife's going to want to go to the mall and get her a shirt. I said, and then what? You got the money. Why can't she go get a shirt? Let and let live, but celebrate each other. If you've got resources, use those resources for special occasions. Doll over each other with little things, little thoughtful things, and it goes a long way. Number 8, never leave your family nor your bedroom. Buddy of mine, you know I'm a lawyer, so I get my man calling me. I'm leaving. I'm getting the divorce, and I have a standard line bezel. I tell him, here's what you do: go down to Publix, go over to the flower section and get some flowers. You saw that? You saw that, Pete? Go to Publix, get some flowers. One, they're always fresh, and they're very modestly priced. Okay? Go to Publix. Don't go to the flower. Don't go get the big bouquet. Don't overdo it. Look like your mind is working still. Go to Publix, get some flowers. And this is what you go home and say, Bezel. Look right in the eyes. You say, listen, I don't know what I did that got us to this position or how I let this happen. But I just want you to know, from here on out, I'm going to be working as hard as I can to make sure this never happens again. That's all you got to say. Because all women want us to do is try our best. They know we're imperfect. They know we're flawed, and we're going to stumble and flip and slip and all that kind of good stuff. And then the last one here is, number 9. If things get bad, now listen, this is Tampa Bay Tammy talking. This is not attorney Clinton Paris, upstanding member at New Hope Missionary Baptist Church in Pillen, the community. This is Tampa Bay Tammy's line. It says, if things get too bad, smoke the peace pipe and see what happens. Now, this day and age,
that's a good recommendation. That's a good recommendation.
Hey, listen, this day and age, you can eat a brownie, rub some oil on your joints. There's a lot of other options. Eat a gummy, but just bring the tension down and see what happens. And here's the last one. It says this: men out there, listen. Happy wife, happy life, happy mama, less drama. All right, y'all. Let's get ready for this show. Pete, how you doing this morning? I hear you on there. How you doing, Pete?
Listen. I've followed her for a long, long time, and I want to tell you that's one of the best articles, columns. I read it. I showed it to some of my lady friends. I even showed it to some of the guy friends when it came out this week, because I wanted men to know that a lot of times they need to write in Tampa Bay Tammy too, because sometimes men and women, we think similar the concerns we have and all.
Yes.
But let me tell you, if reading that article, if that doesn't boost esteem, self-esteem,
yeah,
that's you know what it's like. I tell you before we move on, it's like taking castor oil.
What you talking about,
many
Pete?
Remedies. But that article.
Bezel don't know nothing about Bezel. Don't eat that castor oil, man. How many times? How often do you take castor oil? How often do you take castor oil, Pete? How often should you take it?
Probably in the last year, probably about 4 times.
Now I thought it was 2 times a year. When the time changed, you're supposed to take a teaspoon Just on GP.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the old school.
Two
But
times a
we
year.
had an interesting week,
Yes.
and I told you and my man Bevel and DJ too, that this country is on a path of destruction. All the power players that are in place now, that's in the extreme right wing, whether you're talking about the evangelical Christians, whether you're talking about congressmen and senators, whether you're talking about, and I tell you what really confirmed it. The people that endorsed Marco Rubio over Val Demings, the policeman and all, that shows you right then and there, and Blue Lives Matter.
All right, Pete, you need to set the
Rubio
stage on
over-
that. What race are you talking
All right,
about?
here's
What race
happened.
you talking about?
All right, listen, here's the thing. The senator race
In Florida. This is
between
Florida
Marco
Senate race
Rubio
from Marco
and
Rubio is
Florida,
running.
right.
And why would you say
Right.
that has a racial component to those endorsements?
Well, I give you a good example. Everybody knows that Val Demings is basically pretty much moderate, a conservative black Democrat.
All right, stop right there. So,
When
but
you
she's a
work in
black.
law-
She's a black female former police chief. Correct, Pete?
Right.
Correct. Okay, so you would expect law enforcement will fall in line and support their own.
Well, see, here's the hypocrisy of it. They wouldn't endorse her, and when you look at the people that joined in against endorsing her, the police union and the Blue Lives Matter, that's the hypocrisy of it, because these folks didn't even support the police during the insurrection. So there's a pattern in this country which our young people, African Americans and other young people of color, just, they want to twerk their way out of it, or trap their way out of it, or smoke their way out of it, and they're ignoring the facts that this country is becoming very, they're trying to move the clock all the way back prior to the Civil War. And I told you all that all of this is a pattern, it's deeply rooted, and I wouldn't be surprised in 2024 that we'll see the ultimate revolution or racial war.
Oh no, we're not. Listen, I'm gonna tell you why, Pete. People making too much money. People houses worth too much. The stock market is
Has
gonna
nothing
come
to do
roar.
with
Pete. I'm telling you, the one thing that America that transcends almost everything else in America, even race, is money. If you have high unemployment, people out of jobs, I agree with you, Pete. If actually people can't go to a grocery store and buy food, people complain about grocery prices, but they're at the store shopping still. If you had high unemployment, people out of jobs, those kinds of things, people are hungry, I might agree with you. And so that's what I'll be watching to see. But let's go to a more positive, upbeat note for the Democrats. This week, Tanya Jackson was sworn in on the United States Supreme Court as a justice. And the thing that caught my attention was there were a litany of interviews of black female law students and college students talking about the inspiration that gave them. And I found that very, very inspiring to think that we have, with all the accomplishments so far of black women, we're still having these first, still waiting on the first president, female. We have now her being sworn in other positions where women are stepping forward in power. I thought it was a very, really good look for the Democratic Party. What did you think, Pete?
Well, you missed 2 points that actually helps Republicans. Number one, the new Supreme Court justice is similar in the mold of Constance Baker Mobley, a federal judge, retired now and all, and similar to, probably similar to, I would say, in some ways, Sandra Day O'Connor, the white Republican woman that was put on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk about women in law school now, the black lawyers, the female lawyers, what you inform our audience is that they are becoming more leaning towards moderate republicanism, and they're a little bit more conservative, and they're trying to detach themselves in my opinion, now this is my opinion, they're detaching themselves from really understanding what's going on with the black women in the middle and lower class.
Well,
It's been brewing for a while.
As
been
usual.
brewing for a while. I stand by
Yeah.
that. I stand by it.
As usual, Pete, I just flatly disagree. But we'll leave that where it is. Look,
Did you say slightly or
flat?
Did you say slightly or you trying to defend? You sound like Daryl now, trying to defend.
All right, man. Listen, we're gonna take a quick break. We come back. We're gonna talk a little. Hey, Herschel Walker is sliding in the polls up there in Georgia. We're gonna talk about that a little bit when we come back. In Texas News Radio, reality radio, where everybody can be a star. We will be right back.
Who doesn't love being number one? When your team's dominating the standings, or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one, it feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call Herman White at 961-6661. That's 961-6661.
Hey, this is Agent Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecue? Come see them two brothers in the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man. Call Ricky. Ask Ricky. You need medical or a lawyer? I got the man to do the legwork for you. We tried the other ones before, so believe we hunted down 813-248-6300. Everything gon' be okay. Call Ricky, he coming. He taking care of state of Florida. Grab a pen or sundown 184-361-RICK. That's 184-361-425. Never word from the point forward, just recline. Just ask Ricky, plus your boy statewide. Just in case you missed it, I'ma tell you one more time. 184-361-RICK. Call Ricky, ask Ricky. It's a legal medical referral service. The doctors and lawyers in our network are trained in handling auto injury claims and getting you the best medical treatment and recovery. Dial 1-844-361-RICK. That's 1-844-361-7425. Ricky. Ask Ricky.
All right, we're back live on In Texas News Radio, reality radio, where everybody is a star. And going into our second segment here, and I'm happy to have Sweet Pete Edwards on the telephone line with me this morning, trying to make some sense out of the things that are going on. Pete, what's happening with your Republican candidate up in Georgia for Senate? As everybody knows, Donald Trump recruited Herschel Walker to run up there against Senator Warnock. And Pete, things aren't going well for your candidate right now, Herschel Walker. What's going on up there?
In the end, Herschel will win by at least 2.5 percentage points. And I'm gonna give you the reasons why.
Oh, okay.
Number one, we don't vote during off-year elections.
When you say we, you mean African Americans?
The African Americans, and particularly those under 30. So they can have whoever they want pushing the Democratic vote and the African American vote. The key voting block that they need, and that we should have, really Republican or Democrat, whatever, is the 30 and under. And as I told y'all last week, they're not interested in voting, whether they got a formal education or not. They just don't do it. Now, you had some folks that say, hey, I want extended child care, or I may vote if I got another check coming. But that's the negative mentality that's been hurting our community for a long time. So they're not going to vote. Number two, those who might still be against interracial marriage, let's say, they will hold their nose and vote for Herschel Walker because Trump endorsed him, number one. Number two, he's not considered a threat to fight for civil rights or anything like that. He's not going to do none of that. And number three, the anticipation is that if Kemp wins the election for Georgia, which he's going to win by at least 3 points, Herschel may not last the whole term, and then they'll appoint somebody white and conservative. So there's
Pete,
my logic
I wonder
behind it.
about your research team and your sources, how you get your information. Let's go over a couple of actual facts, not opinions. First, Warnock won in a runoff, which, if I recall correctly, that's not a general election; it's a special election. So that's the first one. So it wasn't a general that I think he won, and I think they had some kind of runoff, and Trump got involved and he beat him. The electorate in Georgia is almost evenly split, but 10 points is a lot of points to be behind, Pete. Suddenly, they were dead even in March. A couple of months later, Warnock has got a 10-point lead, and I think Herschel is not presenting well as a qualified candidate. I don't think he's showing the people he's ready to represent. Because remember, when people vote for this guy, they got to say, "And now I want you to go represent me." And I've so far not gotten the impression that Herschel Walker has been compelling in that fashion, and that's why you have a 10. He's not a serious candidate. And
he doesn't have to show it until the last month. He doesn't have to show it. Look at this. Georgia is a very conservative state. Even
no,
among
not
black people who
anymore.
live in
See, I
Georgia.
think I disagree. I think Georgia's electorate, like Florida's electorate, has been drastically changing, and nobody really paid attention to it. Florida was getting more and more Republicans moving to Florida, and nobody seemed to be paying attention. And they look up, in 20 years, the legislature and the governor's office been dominated by Republicans. I think you've got a shift happening in Georgia because black folks are moving to Georgia. White folks aren't moving to Georgia. They're not retiring and moving to Georgia. Black folks
But we're
packing
not
up, going to
voting.
Georgia.
We're not voting.
We do vote. That's how Warnock got in office. What are you talking about, Pete? Stacey Abrams, but for some shenanigans, Stacey Abrams would have won the governor's race in Georgia. So I disagree with this. We don't. Those are some traditional comments, like the man holding us down comment. But you look at the specifics. So I'm expecting that Herschel is going to get a walloping, and he's going to be a drag on Kemp. That's what I really think is going to be. He's going to be a drag on Kemp.
Election.
Yeah.
Why do we run from? Can I ask you something?
Absolutely.
You're my lawyer as well. Why do we run from calling out the obvious that in the black community, young people under 30 only interested in voting in presidential election, and generally they don't even pay attention to what counts most, local elections. They talk that
right
game.
Now let's talk
but
about
they
right.
apply
So
it another way,
well,
okay?
I'll tell you
Let's
this,
be
Pete.
honest
Go ahead,
with
Pete.
that.
So I'm gonna talk to you like I talk to some of my Republican neighbors. There's a history of
You got a bunch
of disenfranchisement within the African American community. So voting is not a natural process of being a good citizen. Pay taxes, serve in the military, all that kind of stuff. But voting has not been a driving factor within the black community as part of being a good citizen, so to speak. So the fact that you would say that. Now, the other thing is young people across the board in all demographics have a lower voting percentage than older people. So that's one component. But Stacey Abrams, I think, is going to draw out a younger crowd. Her vision and the way that and so I think she's going to motivate that vote that will be good for Warnock. And I think the lack of Kemp getting support from Trumpites are going to reject him. He's in trouble. And I think that leans in Stacey Abrams' favor.
Well, Stacey Abrams I predict Stacey Abrams will not even get the percentage of black voters like she did the last time.
Now, why not?
So
Tell me why not, though. Tell me why not.
Well, I'm going to tell you. First of all, it's off the election. Number two, in Georgia, it's a conservative. You take outside of Atlanta and maybe Savannah, the average Georgia black voter is moderate or conservative. Stacey Abrams represents progressive front of the Democratic Party. She represents a broader. Let's be honest with you. She represents a coalition of new black LGBTQ people, but they don't play a major role like they should in the state of Georgia because they're still trying to straddle the fence. You can't do that. You can say whatever you want to about the white LGBTQ movement, whether they're Republicans or Democrats. They have the courage to stand out front and do their thing.
All right, I'm gonna listen. We're gonna flag the tape and mark the record. I still say you're gonna be surprised at what happens in Georgia. Like people keep being surprised, we keep being surprised the way that Florida goes. But if you look at who's moving to Florida, you would see that. But what about this, Pete? Let me bootstrap two things together. What about the people being upset about Roe versus Wade inspiring Hillary to make a comeback and run for president in 24?
She's through. It's all talk about Roe v. Wade, but I can tell you, when it comes to the power in the voting booth, it won't transfer. It's lip service. Even among the progressive Democrats, it's lip service. You know why? Because they're not as inclusive as they should be. So when I look at it from a black standpoint, if I'm a Democrat and I see these progressives saying, hey, we're going to protest the Supreme Court decision and all like that, I wouldn't trust them because these are the same people who borrowed from the civil rights movement and everything else to get what they wanted, but then they left us behind. And when you look at the way they put blacks in a position, it's always the most affluent blacks versus middle-class blacks, like we can't think for ourselves. So that coalition, I'm serious. And so I don't put no stock into that. When I talk to people from different opinions in our black community, my coffee group and everything else, they understand that women should have control over their bodies and all. But in the black community, the understanding is different than the white community. And one of the issues is with us is that the declining role of a black man, whether he's a father, uncle,
you done worked it in there. You done worked it. You done worked it in, Pete. You done worked it in there, man. Listen, at the table, everybody eats what they eat. So if black men feel like they're being marginalized, then they need to be the one. Don't look for women to step back so they can step forward. Well, I'm not gonna fall for that diversion, Pete. I'm not gonna fall for that diversion.
It's over with.
Listen, I think there's a lane that's starting to open for Hillary. First, there are some folks, a lot of Democrats, that feel bad that they didn't support her as much as they should have when she ran because they presume she beat Donald Trump. That's the first thing.
She was fake. She was fake.
She was just who she was. Stop that. Hold on, people. She ran what she ran. Okay, great. Now, women across America are pissed. And they're not pissed specifically about Roe v. Wade. They're pissed because they feel like men are deciding too much about their lives. And I got a feeling, Pete, I just got a feeling there's a lane opening for her. And can you imagine how fired up both sides would be if you had a rematch of Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton, as opposed to Joe Biden and what's the guy's name, DeSantis? Can you imagine how fired up everybody would be if those two ran against each other again?
Not black voters.
Absolutely, they would be.
Why?
They sent out the first black president. They would send out the first black president, Bill Clinton, to campaign for her.
Clinton is fake. She's fake. All she wants to do, and I'm glad she didn't win in a lot of ways. You know why? Because the appointments she would have made coming out of the black community would have been those who are very affluent and aloof.
Hold on, Pete. They would have never been any worse than what Donald Trump did. No matter how horrible.
I understand that.
How horrible you might want to think she would have been, she would have never been nearly as bad as Donald Trump would have been. But I think, though, there is a lot of momentum for a Hillary campaign. And just watching the near future, if nothing else, I got a feeling she's going to play a major role. because she's been on the
She's
forefront
too
of
old.
women's issues. You know, she's going to take the role now of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, fighting for women's rights. And I think there's a clear lane for her to have that. And I think that's going to be real attractive to a lot of people. I mean, that's just my take. I just think that will get people excited. Even if she didn't run, I think she needs to start to float the idea that she might run to get some people excited. And kind of like Donald Trump is doing. Kind of like what Donald Trump is doing. He's keeping everybody on edge. And I like the fact that he and DeSantis are now throwing some blows. But look, I'm getting a message from Bezel. We need to take another break.
Right now,
When we're going to come back, we're going to talk about these dropping gas prices, and mortgage prices took a step back. And what are you doing for the 4th of July? Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. This is In Touch News Radio, reality radio, where everybody can be a star. We'll be right back after this message.
God bless each and every one of you, and have a happy 4th of July. This is Pastor Harold Ford. Join us this weekend for the House of Gospel Music. Cherry Johnson tells us about the freaks who slapped the babies behind. Evangelist Dorothy Norwood stops by to tell us a real story. And all of your gospel favorites back to back on the House of Gospel Music. Gospel Hallelujah, heard right here on this great radio station.
All right. All right. We're back live on Intech News Radio, reality radio. Everybody can be a star. Listen, I got Pete Edwards on the phone with me. Pete, appreciate you calling in and participating online. We got our technology team working overtime to make sure we stay on top of things here. And Pete, listen, so I got what you feel about it, but let me tell you this. I think things are trending in a good direction for Biden. He looked on the world stage in charge and in control. He went over to the G7 meetings, the NATO meetings, handled things well. And now he's headed off to the Middle East, going to do some stops there. But along the way, Pete, gas prices have started falling. Now, that's a big thing for those of us out there on the road. Gas prices. So does it look like, and also mortgage rates also went back down a little bit. So does it look like Biden is getting his hands in control of this economy? What are your thoughts on that, Pete?
No, I was on the bus the other day, and I passed by a gas station on near Mabry and Cypress, and regular was down to $4.39.
Yeah.
I go further in two different directions, and those prices for regular was $4.79 and $4.89. So it's a lot of fake stuff with that. Now Biden, I tell you what, Mitch McConnell made a statement this week that talked about that he really knows the true Joe Biden. And I said in the beginning that Biden was really a conservative Democrat. His record speaks for itself over a period of time. Now, I do give him credit, and I'm glad he's doing it, particularly with the judges and all, because I can tell you, as a conservative Republican, but not as a right-wing extremist sympathizer of Republican, I'm glad he's diversifying the bench, because DeSantis and Trump, whichever one represents the Republican Party, at least the extreme Republican Party, one thing we can count on is they're not going to appoint black judges. That's not going to happen. And so you see it in Florida there well. So Biden, some things he's done well with the diversity of the judges. And here's the reason why. I tell people all the time, judges stay in power. General appointments, when the president leaves or before he leaves, they leave. So a new person comes in, they replace them. So that's the difference. So when I look at it, that's why local elections are very important, and that's why the judiciary is very important.
Right now, but you're talking about Article 3, constitutional Article 3, federally appointed judges that are confirmed in by the Senate. And that's what you're saying, that Biden is doing a great job.
In Florida, like that, yeah. But see, what I'm saying and what I tell young people is, if you think that the extreme right is not trying to take away a lot of civil rights, just read the tea leaves with Clarence Thomas and some of the others. The only thing that he doesn't want to roll back is interracial marriage, and that's because he's in one. But if he wasn't in one, he would roll that back too, with the voting right changes and all. And the reason why they're doing that, because they know, and even in the black community, when we discuss around the restaurant tables and McDonald's coffee, that the people that ought to be paying attention to these changes, African Americans under 30, they don't. The Hispanics that are under 30, a lot of them are going to this new wave of conservative white youth movement. They just had a big convention in Tampa 4 or 5 months ago, but you don't see that among young black people. So the bottom line with me is, I hate to say it, but it's reality. Our kids, 30 and under, are not interested in voting. They don't care whether, in my opinion, when you hear them talk about it, they don't care about anything but getting their stacks. But when they get their stacks, are they reinvested in our community? Heck no. So let me give you another example, and then I'll let you chime in. Amscot charges 50 cents every time you go in for a stack of 51s.
Okay.
So those under 30 will pay that, whatever it is, and they'll go to a strip club and make it rain, and 51s will fall down from the sky. Hear me out now. Hear me out.
Right. Well, let me hold on, Pete.
So,
Here's my first issue with that is, and I hear this is just a rumor. I understand, just as a rumor, you can get change at the strip club. I mean, that's a rumor I heard. I don't know by fact.
You can, but here's the logic behind it. So you make it rain.
Okay.
So they get these big plastic bags and pick up the money.
Now, who's got the plastic bag?
Money.
Hold on, Pete. You got to paint the picture.
The strippers.
Okay, the strippers bent over, picking up the dollar bills.
All the money, they put it on Instagram and all like that. Then do you see them coming together to build something in our community?
Stop it, Pete. Stop it.
No,
that does not represent the majority of our young folks. Pete, that's not. Look, the majority of young folks are not.
The mentality.
Well, you know, the one I would say, if you're talking about that young people have a consumer mentality, which is make money, spend money. That's a general across the board, all cultures. And that's a product of capitalism. But I'm not gonna let you pay. Pete, I'm not gonna let you get away with painting out this picture of all our young folks at a strip club spending money off. There's a small minority. Pete, there are college campuses, trade schools, and all kinds of productive places our young people are at, being trained and developed to be productive. Now, can everybody be a community activist? No. Can everybody go out in the streets and or run for office? No. And I get the thing about the voting, but I'm not gonna let you paint out this picture that everybody on the 30s lined up outside the strip club waiting to throw a stack inside.
I give you a classic example.
Okay.
Why those folks, along with the educated 30, former educated 30, how come they haven't come together in a coalition and rebuilt our community?
Leadership. Okay, I'm gonna throw a big rock into the window. Leadership leadership from the older community. The older community has not provided them with adequate leadership to transition into that role. That's really the question: is why aren't those people who know how to do that stuff doing a better job at leading those young people? That's really the question.
You can say that if it wasn't. Well, you can say that, and I'm sure Tampa Bay Tammy agree with me. You can say that if social media wasn't like it is now.
Yeah, everybody's got it, but leadership. But if I saw 10 ducklings walking in a circle in the middle of the street, my first comment would be, well, where's the mama and daddy duck? That's what I would say. I wouldn't say, well, those some stupid little ducklings walking in a circle. I say, well, where's the leadership? So my question to you, Pete, is I question the leadership. That's what I really do, and I think it happens every generation, and I think it's okay because it makes room for the new generation to be different than the old generation, or else
Well, what's wrong with producing leadership within your group?
Oh, well, they will, and we don't
You don't need old leadership.
But think about it, Pete. Let me show you. I'm not in another community. I'm not in another community, so I can only talk about the local community. Here's some political leadership of a generational transitional change. Ed Narain, new leadership in our community. Tammy Schamberger, younger leadership. Orlando Goods, new younger leadership active in our community. And I could keep going down the list. Over at the NAACP, Yvette Lewis, that's a younger person that's taken over there, now leading. Robin, who comes in on this show, and sometimes newer. So I disagree with your conclusion that it's just different. It does not look the same. And then on a political level, you have a lot of other folks out there that take up positions on issues and things in our community. We may not agree with them. So I disagree now. You're right about the coalition piece. Because so many now are empowered, you don't need as big a group to make as big an impact. You can use, I don't need 5,000 people marching with me because I can reach them through what you said, social media. So I disagree with that. But I think, though, these changes in the market are creating an opportunity, though, for Joe Biden, I think, to reclaim the upper hand as it relates to the economy. Now, all he needs is some good news regarding inflation. If we get good news regarding inflation, economic numbers are looking strong. Employment numbers come in strong. I think he'll be turning the table for the midterm elections. And then some of these folks that we think should get into office will. But I'm not going to let you denigrate young people and say that there's no leadership, Pete.
Well, I can tell you what, and I think Belzer will agree with me on this one here.
Belzer don't have a mic. He can't agree with nobody today. He's not talking today. He's programmed.
All right. Well, there's a sharp divide between the haves and have-nots, even in the millennium group. And so what happens is when you're talking to young people under 30 that may not have the income as others in the 30 group or a little older than that, the last thing on their mind, believe it or not, is the economy.
I don't, well, in general terms, but there are other parts of the economy.
In general terms.
Yeah, but what's on their mind is how much am I getting paid? What's on their mind is how much am I paying for gas? What's on their mind is did my rent go up more than I can afford? And they don't realize you put all that together, Pete, what do you have? The economy. So they're feeling it. They just, when they go to buy a new pair of jeans. I went to buy some jeans, Pete. It was shocking to me what they cost. And the salespeople, they thought nothing of saying, oh, those are $95. Oh, those are $88. You know what I did? I went my butt to Costco. I got me a pair of Izod jeans, relaxed fit, stretch denim for $14.99. Boy, they look so tight. I mean, Pete, I look so fly.
The stitching was better. Too.
Hey, listen, man. My wife said, hey, you got new. I said, you right, I got new jeans. I tried to buy them at the mall, and I told the lady, Pete, I said, how do you, with a straight face, say to me, a pair of jeans is $95? I mean, but it was store after store, and Belzer was, because I got to look right. I can't just look any kind of way. I can't just put on anything. But I was shocked at how much the jeans cost. So you say, Pete, they won't care about the economy. You're right. But they're going to care about the fact that their rent went up, and they're going to care about some of these other things that are affecting them monetarily. You usually make predictions. I'm predicting Joe Biden is going to make a turn on the economy. Now, look, so we got to do our last break of the day. Check this out, Pete. We come back. I want to talk about the 4th of July. We spent a lot of time talking about Juneteenth and celebrating. Now we're going to talk about the 4th of July and put it in proper context for people. We'll be right back after this break. In Touch News Radio, reality radio, where everybody can be a star. We'll be right back.
Hello, Tampa Bay. This is Ainsley Doe with Florida Realty Unlimited. As a broker with 15 years experience and a veteran of the Navy, I do understand your needs. Real estate prices are up. So if you're thinking of selling your home, call me for a free market analysis. If you're planning to buy a home, please call me for a free buyer's consultation. For more information, call Ainsley Doe at 813-546-1954. Once again, the number is 813-546-1954. Or check my ad out in the In Touch You.
We're playing your favorite old school. Today's R&B. With a smooth touch of jazz. You're listening to In Touch Radio.
By now, we're all aware of the dangers of COVID-19. Like others with existing health issues, cancer patients are at a high risk due to their compromised condition. If you are newly diagnosed with cancer, your care likely can't wait. Moffitt Cancer Center is the best place for your cancer concerns and to provide guidance to help you plan your next steps. We're here for you. Call 1-888-456-2839 or go to moffitt.org/here for you.
You've been injured. You deserve help from an attorney.
Well, get ready to experience a night of R&B hits after hits. It's the R&B Music Experience. Keith Sweat Birthday Weekend Celebration. Saturday, July 23rd at the Amalie Arena, Tampa, Florida. With Keith Sweat. Keith Sweat. It's going to be an epic music experience with Monica. Tevin Campbell. Tamar Braxton. Genuine. 112. And Silk. It's the R&B Music Experience Keith Sweat Birthday Weekend Celebration. Saturday, July 23rd at Amalie Arena, Tampa, Florida. With Keith Sweat, Monica, Tevin Campbell, Tamar Braxton, Genuine, 112, and Silk. Tickets on sale at Ticketmaster.com. Another global events production.
All right, we're back live on In Touch News Radio. Reality radio, everybody can be a star. So in the last session, I mentioned to Pete and to Belvin, and to those listening out there, want to talk a little bit about the 4th of July. Mainly because, I really revved it up a little bit for Juneteenth because I was so excited about it being a new holiday that the federal government is recognizing as being celebrated. But also wanted to talk a little bit about the 4th of July, likewise a great day to celebrate historically. The funny part about the 4th of July is on the 4th of July didn't a lot happen really in 1776. You had the 13 colonies, and we had something called the Continental Congress, which is where all 13 colonies had sent representatives to Philadelphia, and they were trying to figure out how they would go forward with their independence. The vote actually happened. Check this out, Pete. The vote for independence did not happen on the 4th. It happened on the 2nd. That's when it happened. They voted on the 2nd to adopt the Declaration of Independence. That was preceded by something called the signing of the Declaration of Independence. That didn't conclude itself until the 4th. So most people signed on the 3rd. There were two fellas that, I don't know, they had to go to the bathroom or visit their wives, whatever they had to do. They weren't there, so they had to wait till the 4th for those two fellas to come and sign. And they finally came and signed, and it wasn't until 1870, Pete, that John Adams, pushed and moved that it be made a federal holiday. But I think, and some people go back and forth about this, and Pete, I'd love to know your perspective is, well, the 4th of July is really nothing that Black Americans should be celebrating. What are your thoughts about the African American celebration of 4th of July?
Well, here's the thing. Back in the day, because we celebrated it with the understanding that the country came about. When we had the OGs out of the military and all like that, they fought to preserve, even in segregated units, the rights for this country to be free. Can I tell you something? In it's my opinion, and even listening to different people, it won't be long before, and it's going to be driven by young people under 25. It won't be long before the real celebration for everybody will be Juneteenth. And here's the reason
Whoa.
why.
Hold on. You got that by a lot of. Say that again, Pete.
Here's the thing. In a few years, as far as the people under 30, and particularly young people under 20, as they learn and as the social media and the influences the whole bit, and this country continues to evolve, if we don't fall apart with a race war, Juneteenth will supplant 4th of July as the most popular holiday among American people.
Now, why do you say that? Why? Go ahead.
Because the kids, you can try to deny history. You can try to cover it up like we're doing in the state of Florida, don't really want to teach it at all. But the way the communication skills are now, and the way you see young people interacting with each other as Juneteenth involves it all, and then they understand from a historical context, and then they see you got more of the merging and the diversity of the races and stuff. That will be more influential to them moving forward in about 10 years. I'd say 10 at the minimum. And they will celebrate that more as an inclusive event versus the 4th of July.
Wow, that's pretty profound, Pete. I disagree with it, but that's pretty profound. You were saying. Let me line up a couple of things. One is, how and what do white people celebrate on Juneteenth? And there are a lot of them out there. I'm trying to figure, what are they celebrating, Pete?
Well, the baby boomers, the only thing we're celebrating, which if I'm white, and unless I had relatives because of mixed marriages or whatever, the only thing I would celebrate with Juneteenth on the majority part would be if I own a business and I can profit from it.
Right, so you're celebrating the fact that you have a day off work. That's your problem, Pete, is we have to. Hold on. Right. But I'm just saying, though, the problem with Juneteenth is figuring out something for white people to celebrate on Juneteenth. That has to be that right now is not being packaged well. Now, 4th of July, you mentioned it. It's patriotic. It is the day that the country was founded, and it has since 1870. We're 2022. You've got about a 300-year head start, or someone there. Somebody do the math. I know somebody will send me a nasty email said I can't count, but of head start celebrating 4th of July. I don't know how you switch suddenly to people being more profoundly supportive of Juneteenth, a day that embarrasses America for the most part. And if you go read some historical discussions about it, I was the other day I was reading something about the Nazis in the Ardennes, and they massacred a group of the 33rd Regiment of black soldiers. They literally executed them, and the United States military decided it wasn't worth investigating, swept it under the rug completely. Why? Racism. And the Germans said, what are y'all getting mad at us about the Jews for? Look what you're doing to African Americans. So America's still embarrassed by slavery. They're white people. That's what this whole thing is with the CRT or that, and what DeSantis, they don't want white kids in school made to feel as if there's history in white America that they need to be embarrassed about. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you, Pete, listen, they've gotten a pass. Because we really ever drilled down to what really has gone on with the Native Americans? Really? That you talk about some embarrassment. That's really what the African slavery thing, I get it. It was a worldwide issue. But what they did with Native Americans is the scary piece to me if that ever comes to the forefront. and there has to be some accounting for that. So with that being, that's my dynamic. So 4th of July, I think because of our forgiving nature as African Americans and the history around it, we are much more comfortable firing up the grill on 4th of July than they will ever be at singing, lift their voice and sing on Juneteenth. I just think that's just not the way that it goes. But
I'm speaking about it from a collective standpoint.
Yes.
Because young people see with the CRT and all like that, it's going to backfire because it's driving kids who have been in a diverse setting, difference of opinion, but friends. And I tell people all the time, if you really want to find out how sharp you are and how you can learn the diversity of thinking among young people, don't run when they buy you at Chick-fil-A or McDonald's or whatever.
Who get no Pete? Nobody don't get out of Chick-fil-A. Everybody in the drive-through. Nobody's inside Chick-fil-A.
Sit your butt down and just quietly listen. Don't stare at them because they got purple and yellow hair and all like that. Don't do that.
Hey.
Just quiet.
You're making me nervous, Pete. You're making me nervous. I'm spying on young people.
But remember, put it down in the archives of In Touch Radio News.
Got it.
That on this day, July the 2nd, in 10 years or less, Juneteenth will surpass the 4th of July in substantial significance. Now, the family reunions and all that, because when you talk to young black people now under 30, they don't give a rat's butt about the original thing about 4th of July.
Well, there has to be some history. There has to be some history training. Peter, I got 30 seconds. Go ahead and give me a closing comment.
Well, again, I urge us to listen to young people and let them know that we can work with them if we're going to have a new black, totally rebuilt Wall Street, and if we're going to stop our descent into pre-civil rights occupancy. That's all I got to say.
Outstanding, Pete. Well, thank you very much for joining us on the phone this morning, Pete. I appreciate it. Go ahead, Pete.
One thing. Where are we sitting at with the Keith Sweat show, you know?
More to come. More to come on that. I'll let you know. All right, then. Listen, before we
have a safe weekend.
All right, take care, Pete.
No drunk driving, please.
Absolutely, Pete. Appreciate that. I want to give a quick shout out to Mrs. Charles Kilpatrick. She passed away last week, and they're having a funeral today over at First Baptist of West Tampa. To the whole Kilpatrick family, my condolences. And I will be heading over to be there in support of the family. You know you all. We love you very much. And to all our listeners out there, thank you for listening in to In Touch News Radio, reality radio, where everybody can be a star. Have a great week, y'all. Woo!
Get ready to experience a night of R&B hits after hits. It's the R&B Music Experience Keith Sweat Birthday Weekend Celebration, Saturday, July 23rd at the Amalie Arena, Tampa, Florida, with Keith Sweat. Keith Sweat. It's gonna be an epic music experience with Monica, Tevin Campbell,